Take your shot, Max. I execute my contract, you son of a bitch! I'll see you at Forbidden Door, dumbass. Oh, Hangman Page was so close to getting a hole-in-one to close out that promo segment, but he missed it by just a little bit. If only he had not said dumbass, he had said jackass. Would have hit him right in the goddamn Happy Gilmore. Unfortunately, he is not Joe Flaherty from Happy Gilmore. He passed away last year, but rest in peace. Your iconic delivery of jackass will live on in comedy lore forever. I'm John Renton with my review of AEW Dynamite from the Andrew J. Brady Music Center in Cincinnati, Ohio. The last time they ran there was January 15th of this year. They drew around the same amount of people, and I do like the look of the venue. I actually, think it's nice to have, smaller venues like this with, even if it's just 1,500 to 2,000 people, it's still a hotter crowd. And literally a hotter crowd because they decided to have pyro in this small area. And I think they could have done without the pyro. Don't really think the pyro is necessary, but it is what it is. We are on our way to Forbidden Door. That is just over a week away. So Hangman and MJF have a face-to-face. I'm not going to get into, a detailed description of all this, but I will say that there were a few lines that were okay. They're trying to build this up well. These are two Day One originals. They were the final two in that pre-show Battle Royal, or over-budget Battle Royal, I think is what they called it. It's been quite a while since I've watched Double or Nothing 2019. But, MJF fires back with a bunch of stuff, and then Hangman basically calls him an edgelord, and talked about, you keep calling me Seabiscuit. Do you know how Seabiscuit's story ends? He wins. And you either had to earn the shot or you have to execute your contract. You didn't earn it last week because he knocked Mark Briscoe's foot off the goddamn ropes. Instead of getting the rope break, MJF got a tainted victory. So he must execute the contract. The insults, unfortunately, same as it ever was. Hangman's faults. He accepts his faults. He basically tells, Max to take a shot. Take your shot, Max. Take your shot. You talk about being, a Day One original, this kind of stuff. You know how I'm going to be. I accept who I am, this kind of stuff. But, yeah, you are not going to be able to have that insurance policy. You feel that you can't beat me. And then MJF agrees to execute his contract. Says, I'll see you Forbidden Door, dumbass. There you go. So, then we have Jon Moxley, Cincinnati's own Jon Moxley, along with Wheeler Yuta and Marina Shafir just standing on steps right outside the arena. This stuff is ridiculous. It's stupid. It's overdone. We have Kevin Knight with Fuck You Speedball, as his nickname is known now, and that's just in, the MVP Speedball joking thing and stuff like that. At least they were able to have some fun with it. So it is Knight with Fuck You Speedball against Jon Moxley with Marina and Wheeler Yuta. And there was a mixture of cheers for Moxley and Yuta sucks. So at least Cincinnati got that right. I don't think that Kevin Knight's going to learn anything working with people, even in main event positions, if they're like Mox, who people like him, and that's fine. Nothing's going to change their opinions. But if you're like me, and I know I'm like me, and if I wasn't like me, who the fuck else would I be? You've given up on Jon Moxley. This Death Rider stuff has been abysmal. Moxley has not always been bad. He was a plus for AEW for a while. Now he is a major detriment. If he took a vacation for the rest of this year, if after Forbidden Door he was done till, say sometime in January or February, I don't think he would be missed. I don't think he would be. The match was what it was. When Knight was on offense, he can do some spectacular stuff. There was a nice lariat over the ropes, but the strikes are stupid. Moxley can't, or just refuses to, properly wrestle. And basically a choke won it. It ended up being the same as it ever was. And then Yuta got involved, and we got another beatdown. Oh boy, another Death Riders beatdown. That's what this fucking program needs. It's not helping the fact that this is continuing, and I don't care if it ends at Forbidden Door. It's gone on way too goddamn long. Way too fucking long. But then Darby shows up with a body bag, and then hits Yuta in the faced with a skateboard. He probably should have shown it to Marina and said, see, this is what something that's stiff like a board but actually is useful looks like, because she's as stiff as a goddamn board and can't work for shit. The skateboard actually could work better. And he shoves Yuta in the goddamn body bag and looks like he's going to coffin drop him. And then here's Claudio. I don't even want to see Claudio anymore. I do not want to fucking see Claudio. But then Yuta, after being in the body bag, gets taken out of the body bag. Claudio spins Darby around the body bag. And just, we get all this bullshit. And Yuta's still getting involved. This stupid string-being pile of afterbirth motherfucker. This useless pile of wasted, circumcised flesh. Just, he's so goddamn pointless to this program. If he was not there, at least in this position, the company would not earn one more penny or lose one penny. He is just that vanilla and that bullshit. And Marina, go find something else to do. Go work the indies. She is not cut out for a big stage. And then Ospreay shows up despite having 2 bad discs in his neck and whatever the fuck. It's going to be a lights-out cage match, but more on that here in a bit. So then we get Alex Windsor, Queen Hamanada, and Willow Nightingale against Mercedes, who stuck her finger in a light socket, evidently. Sky Blue and Tekla with Julia. Tony is up in the box. Tony Storm, that is. And Athena is on the opposite side. More on that here. More on that here in a couple minutes. So, probably actually a minute, because the match was what it was. The people were into it. I'm sorry, but they're just not going to get me invested in this Mercedes stuff. She's as back in the ring as she's ever going to be. Will not listen to her promos till she actually talks like a human. Everyone get in here. Everyone just starts doing stuff. So yeah, people were into it. And a sharpshooter beat Sky. So okay, there we are. And then Athena tries fisting Tony up in her box, up high. And then, another post-match beatdown. Haven't seen that since, the previous match. They just can't leave well enough alone. If you were going to do it in the first match, don't have the second match do that. Any wrestling program, it just gets nauseatingly dull and just blah. So then the champs are, they fought from the stage or up in the box all the way to the ring. And then Tony basically says, we're going to have a match in Scotland, and if you're not wearing anything under your kilts, we're going to ride you bareback through Glasgow. Why is everyone in wrestling so horny? I have so many questions. And that's Tony and Alex against Athena and Mercedes. Renee is with Ospreay. Basically, he could not make a match, but Tony Khan loved the idea of a lights out cage match, because of course he does, because he's an ECW fan. And Ospreay had to call in favor to his old boss. Tanahashi's going to be involved in this. They're wasting one of Tanahashi's last appearances in a lights out cage match. That better be a big old cage. And basically, I'm just going to get to it right now. It is Moxley, Claudio, Gabe Kidd, who I thought had to leave the G1 because he was injured. Evidently, he's fine. So either he quit on the goddamn team, which that's fine. Nobody wanted to see Gabe Kidd compete in the G1 anyway. I mean, if you did, okay, please seek help. And the Jobber Bucks against Ospreay, Tanahashi, Darby Allin, Kenny, and Kota. A lot of injuries in that goddamn match. So Copeland gets a decent reaction. Security brings Stokely to the goddamn ring. And we get Copeland versus Stokely in a wrestler-manager match. And I gotta be honest, parts of this actually end up being my favorite part of the show, because at least it reminded me of stuff they did in the territories. Stokely would try the comedy spears. And then they went outside where Copeland was beating up Stokely and talked to a fan and says, what do you gotta say about Stokely? He's short, bald, and he's got no hose. And then even asked some woman, the young girl, I don't know, she's probably in, I think, her mid-20s, if that. But, could Stokely have you? Is that a serious question? No. And, Copeland's talking on the goddamn thing, and he throws Stokely back in the ring. FTR does end up getting involved, Nolan voiding that no contact order or whatever the fuck it was, trespassing thing. And then so that deal's null and void, and we do get Copeland trying to go for the spear again, but Stokely throws powder in his eyes. DQ. Okay, not the worst thing in the world. They did that with the Midnight Express and the Fantastics and rock and roll stuff like that. And we've done that. They did that with the Paul Jones, Jimmy Valiant feud. They've done that with a lot of stuff going back to the Crockett days and going back even before that. Okay. And then we get another beatdown because, again, that is exactly what we need. It made sense here, but again, you probably shouldn't have done it in the first two matches. If you were going to do it here, you got to reel it back, Tony. And beatdown, but suddenly Christian's music hits. So FTR stops what they're doing and then realizes, you know what, let's go get Copeland. Oh, he rolled over here. And Christian Cage has the spike bat thing, the board, and, does that. And then Nick Wayne tries to interfere, and he gets his chair knocked out of his hand, and Kip Sabian's there too, and then they end up hugging it out. Christian Cage and Copeland, because a reunion in 2025 is what we need of teams that competed at the first triangle ladder match in WWE history and the first ever TLC match in WWE history 25 years ago. 25 years ago this month was the first TLC match. Well, the first labeled TLC match. If we're being perfectly honest, WrestleMania 2000 kind of was a TLC match, just not named that, because it involved all those weapons. But, yeah, they end up hugging it out, and it is what it is. Okay, good for them. It obviously means something to them. The crowd popped for it. I liked enough of it, but it's like the Hardys, the Dudleys reuniting and competing against each other, Bound for Glory. I have no desire to see that. Copeland and Cage, they're going to have fun. They get to do what they do. That's fine. But the nostalgia well is poisoned right now as far as multiple companies. So, the Bucks get Pyro, but they just get, Mr. Instant Replay and Slick Nick. Their old names. Because comedy, I'm sorry, but this stuff with the Bucks just doesn't interest me. They aren't funny. The crowd getting to make fun of them would be better if they weren't actually still, prominent figures in this company. Because to be perfectly honest, the Bucks offer nothing of value to this company in 2025. So they took on, it was Brody King, Hologram, Tomohiro Ishii, and somebody that's going to challenge Kyle Fletcher for the TNT title. It's Hiromu Takahashi, without Daryl, or without a stuffed animal. So Ishii had to be a stuffed animal. He's about the size of a stuffed animal at this point. They took on Fletcher, Josh Alexander, who was prominently, touted as being a big signing and has been beaten into powder since, and the Jobber Bucks. So referee Rick Knox, look, this went through two breaks. During one part, they superkicked Justin Roberts, who, by the way, was named in the Speaking Out movement when that got rolling, and they did nothing about it. And the Bucks are pieces of shit, so what does it matter? This went through two breaks. Just do everything is what I know. Just literally do everything. The people were into it, but at this point, the cause was lost. Time Bomb won it, and Alexander got pinned. Now, it makes sense that Alexander would be... he's not the one being featured in a feud, so okay, have somebody take the fall, but you could have had Trent involved in this. Fuck, nobody would care if Trent was dropped on his neck. So, there you are. Then Swerve is talking to Renee, and Swerve's knee is hurt, apparently. Because Okada comes out in goofy, expensive pajamas, bitch, and says that. And then they have a bit of a shoving match. I think it'll be a good match, but they need to get the title off of Okada. And if Swerve's not actually that hurt, if they're just playing it up, please get the title on to somebody I can care about, because I do not care about Okada anymore. Moxley cuts a promo backstage, and then all the stuff I mentioned about the cage match. I didn't listen, because unless Moxley is saying I'm disbanding the Death Riders and going on a 6-month vacation, I don't want to hear it. And it's ENC against Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian and Forbidden Door, and then 10-man cage, and then the OPPs. Yeah, you know me. Samoa Joe is back after being Pillmanized and destroyed to promote Twisted Metal. He is back. along with Hobbs and Shibata and his new brain to take on Roosh, Dralistico, and the Beast of Monet. This is a main event? This is a main event. Of what? Rampage has since been discontinued? Dralistico got choked out, and then Hangman was walking backstage. Renee talked to him, and MJF attacked him. Threw him on a car hood a few times, and then that's the end of that. Okay, I'm telling you right now here at the end, I am pushing to 1 million views. I am pushing all the way to 1 million views. The instant I hit 1 million views, I am backing off on a lot of the weekly wrestling reviewing. I already backed off on a lot of the WWE stuff. I'm burned out, guys. There were some good things on the show, and AEW is moving positively in a couple different directions, but they still have things they need to take care of. They need to let some contracts expire, easy for me to say, and they need to just let things ride. They need to work on the creative better. That being said, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Rentland. Until we meet again, happy trails to you.